right, Steelers fans, welcome back for another deep dive. And this week we are tackling this win against the Raiders. But, I gotta say, it wasn't exactly a pretty one. So we're gonna break it all down. Using Ray Fittipaldo's report card from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, October 13th. And let me tell you, he did not hold back, especially when it comes to the offense.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you're winning. But how sustainable is this really? They're relying so much on the defense and just like these little sparks of brilliance. But can they really be contenders if the offense keeps sputtering like this?
That is the million-dollar question, right? And that's what we're going to be digging into today. We're going beyond just the score. We're looking at each unit, really dissecting, what's working, what needs some serious help.
And Fittipaldo's report card really gives us a great framework for that. I mean, he breaks down every single position group, highlights what they're doing well, what they need to work on. So, let's start with the big one, the quarterback.
Justin Fields gets a C this week. And I think that's pretty fair considering the roller coaster we saw on Sunday. I mean, that game-winning touchdown run on 4th down. Pure magic, man, the kind of play that makes you jump out of your seat. But then you look at the passing stats, only 145 yards, and you got to wonder, are the Steelers really shooting themselves in the foot here by not utilizing his arm more?
Yeah, it's almost like they're playing two different games, right? Like one where Fields is this unbelievable runner making plays out of nothing, and then the other where the passing game is just non-existent. And it's exciting, don't get me wrong, but it's also a little nerve-wracking because at some point that's not going to be enough. You can't just rely on his legs to win you every game.
Especially come playoff time, right? When defenses tighten up, those winning lanes disappear. So is this a Fields issue? Like, does he need to develop more as a passer? Or is this more of a coaching issue where they're just not scheming to his strengths?
That's the question, isn't it? And Fittipaldo even goes so far as to suggest that a quarterback change might be on the horizon. Think about that they're winning games. And yet there's already talk about benching the starting quarterback. That tells you how worried they are about this. Yeah, it's a bold statement for sure. Now let's move on to the running backs where things are a little bit clearer, I think. Najee Harris finally seems to be hitting his stride, gets a B+ this week. 106 rushing yards, a touchdown. And that 37-yard touchdown run, that was vintage Najee, man, breaking tackles, showing that burst of speed.
Oh, yeah, he was a beast out there. Harris is a workhorse, the kind of back you can build an offense around. And when he's healthy and running like that, forget about it. Nightmare for defenses.
Absolutely. But then we got to talk about Jaylen Warren. He was coming back from injury, so maybe we shouldn't read too much into this. But he didn't have a huge impact on the game. So I'm curious to see if we're actually going to have like a true running back committee this season. Yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Because Warren showed some real promise early in the season. If he can get back to that explosiveness, I think it would really add another layer to their run game.
For sure. All right, so the receiving core continues to be a bit of a mystery. Another game, another C grade, and another win where they weren't really a factor. I mean, Pickens made a nice play late in the game, but overall this group was pretty quiet.
It's becoming a pattern, right? And you have to wonder, at what point do we start saying, okay, is this a quarterback problem or is this a receiver problem? Are they just not getting open? Are they dropping passes? Or are they just not being utilized properly?
Yeah, that's something Fittipaldo doesn't really dive into too much. But it's a question that's hanging over this team. You have guys like Pickens and Austin who are super talented, but for whatever reason, they're just not consistently making an impact.
Yeah, and you got to wonder how long Tomlin and the coaching staff are going to be patient with that.
Right, because at some point, your playmakers got to make plays. Now, the offensive line also gets a C this week. Yeah. And it feels like they're stuck in this rut of inconsistency. There are moments where they're opening up holes for Harris, giving Fields time to throw. And then there are these drive-killing penalties that just put them behind the chains.
And don't forget about the injury to Zach Frazier. That's a big blow. Yeah. He's been such a bright spot for them at center.
Yeah.
And now you got to wonder how that's going to impact the line's stability going forward.
Yeah, that's a huge question mark for sure. So yeah, the offense overall, still a lot of question marks, still a lot of things to figure out. But hey, let's not forget about the other side of the ball. Because defensively, things are looking a lot brighter, especially those linebackers. They were absolutely dominant.
Oh yeah, that's where you really start to see the potential of this team. Because while the offense is trying to find its identity, the defense is playing like they're ready to win a championship. I mean, Fittipaldo gave the linebackers an A, and I don't think anyone's arguing with that. Mm-hmm. They were all over the field, making plays, disrupting the Raiders' offense every chance they got.
Yeah, TJ Watt was just unstoppable. 2 forced fumbles, constant pressure, And that energy, man, it's contagious. The whole defense feeds off of it. He's a game changer, plain and simple.
Those forced fumbles, though, I mean, talk about turning points. That first one early in the second quarter, the Raiders are driving. They're in Steelers territory. And Watt comes out of nowhere, just blasts the quarterback as he's throwing. Ball pops loose, Steelers recover, and just like that, the momentum shifts.
And then he does it again in the fourth quarter, strips the ball from the running back, Steelers recover again. It's like he knows exactly where to be and when to strike.
He's got that sixth sense, man. But even when he's not getting to the quarterback, he's making his life miserable, forcing bad throws, making him uncomfortable in the pocket.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we got to give some love to the rest of the linebacking core, too. They were playing lights out. Patrick Queen leading the team in tackles, showing off that speed. The whole unit was just clicking, man.
Yeah, they were in sync. And that's why this team is winning games right now. Even with the offense struggling, the defense is keeping them in it.
No doubt about it. Now, the secondary also had a solid game. Fittipaldo gave them a B-plus hat. They did give up that early touchdown, but after that, they really clamped down on the Raiders' backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they weren't exactly facing a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
With the Raiders starting quarterback out. But still, they made the adjustments and shut them down.
And they showed some versatility, too, adapting their schemes to different formations. They weren't just sitting back and prevent defense. They were challenging receivers, making it tough to get open.
Yeah, you can tell they're well coached. They understand the game plan, and they can execute it. And with this defense playing the way they are, they can afford to be a little more aggressive.
For sure. For sure. All right, let's talk special teams because they continue to be a bright spot for this team. Fittipaldo gave them an A, and rightfully so. Jeremiah Moon with that blocked punt, that was a huge momentum swing. And Chris Boswell, perfect on field goals, including a 52-yarder. Talk about a weapon.
Special teams are so important and often overlooked, but they can win you games, especially those close ones.
Oh, yeah. Moon's blocked punt was a thing of beauty, man. Came bursting through the line, timed his jump perfectly. Steelers recovered deep in Raiders territory. Huge play.
Yes, those unsung heroes, those unexpected contributions that can really make a difference.
Absolutely. And then you got Boswell, Mr. Reliable. Automatic from within 50, and he's shown he can hit those long ones too. Having a kicker you can trust like that is invaluable.
It takes so much pressure off the offense. You know, if you can get into field goal range, you're pretty much guaranteed points.
Exactly. So yeah, the defense and special teams are playing at an incredibly high level right now. They're carrying the team, making up for the offensive inconsistencies.
Steelers football, man. Tough, physical, relentless.
But the question is, can they keep this up all season? Can they carry this team if the offense doesn't start pulling its weight?
That's what it all comes down to.
Right.
And Fittipaldo actually brings that up in his report card. He gave Coach Tomlin a B, which is interesting considering they're winning.
Yeah, a little surprising.
But when you read his analysis, it's clear that he's worried about the offense and Tomlin's ability to fix it.
He specifically calls out the quarterback situation. Stick with Fields and hope he develops. Or make a change and try to spark the offense with someone else.
It's a tough decision. Fields has showed flashes, but he's also been inconsistent.
And you got to wonder if the coaching staff is doing him any favors by trying to fit him into a system that might not be right for him.
Right. But then again, changing quarterbacks mid-season is a huge risk, especially when you're winning games.
Yeah, it could totally backfire.
It's a gamble for sure. But sometimes you got to take risks to reach that next level.
It'll be interesting to see what Tomlin does. He's a proven winner. But even the best coaches face tough choices.
This one could make or break their season.
Absolutely. It just goes to show that even when you're winning, there are still challenges.
That's what makes the NFL so captivating. It's not just about the final score. It's about the storylines, the strategies.
And as we head into the final part of our deep dive, let's keep this question in mind. Can the Steelers ride this defense and special teams all the way? Or do they need to figure out the offense if they want to be true contenders?
We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
And we'll be here to break it all down every step of the way.
You know, it's funny, right? We're talking about a team that just won. But there's this underlying tension. They're still figuring things out, almost like watching a tightrope walk. You're excited, but you're kind of holding your breath the whole time.
Yeah. And that's what's so great about football, right? Every game, every win, every loss, there's so much more to it than just the score. We're trying to figure out what it all means. Can this team actually go all the way?
And the defense is definitely giving us something to be excited about. I mean, they are carrying this team right now.
No doubt. They're the rock, the foundation.
But can they do it all season?
That's the big question. And Fittipaldo kind of hints at that in his report card. He's praising the defense, but he also reminds us that they were facing a backup quarterback.
Right.
It's like he's saying, okay, you passed this test, But what happens when you go up against the big dogs?
The elite quarterbacks.
Exact.
Can they maintain this level of intensity and execution against a Mahomes or a Burrow? That's the real test.
Because if they can, then we're talking about a serious contender.
No doubt.
Imagine this. The defense keeps shutting down opponents, forcing turnovers, giving the offense short fields to work with. Even if the passing game never fully clicks, they can still win games with a strong running game and some timely scores.
It might not be pretty, but it's effective.
Exactly. It's a proven formula.
And who knows, maybe that constant defensive pressure will actually help the offense find its rhythm.
Yeah, maybe Fields will take that next step as a passer. Or maybe Tomlin will figure out a way to scheme around his strengths.
It's all speculation at this point, but that's what makes it so fun to talk about.
Right. We're not just recapping the game, we're trying to predict the future.
So for you, the listener, here's the takeaway. Don't get too hung up on the offensive struggles. Appreciate the defensive dominance. Give those special teams guys some love. And remember, this team is still a work in progress.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. But with a
Definitely.
defense like this, the potential is definitely there.
Absolutely.
Keep watching, keep those questions coming, and we'll be here to break it all down.
Because that's what we do here at The Deep Dive. We go beyond the headlines, we dig into the details, and we try to have a little fun along the way. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another Deep Dive.